Okay, welcome back. This is video 5, and we are going to continue detailing this robot and creating the many panels that make up his face. So I'm flipping on my line art on and off again, and we just flattened that first panel in which I was showing the very basic techniques that I'm going to use to render the rest of these things. And I'm just going to now go off the drawing. So I'm going to make a new layer, and it's beneath the panel I just made. And this one's pretty simple, much smaller, probably much easier to handle. I will take a slightly darker value, shift the hue a little bit just to make some difference between them. Now that I filled it, I can maybe shift a little bit more. Maybe up the brightness a little bit. No, I'll keep it dark. That's good. I want there to be some clear separation between this and that. So now I'm going to make a new layer, parent it, and again give it the same kind of 3-value treatment that I've been giving everything else. And sometimes if I get tired of one brush I'm using during the painting process, I'll just switch them. I really have no problem doing that. And it's cool, you can get a lot of varying brush techniques in the painting, which again is another level of interest, which can be kind of fun. Alright, I'm going to do those little glints with a lighter value on this guy too. Well, maybe one there. Well, probably more appropriately be one right here on the tip there, and on the tip here. Yeah, that looks better to me. And the line there is a little too fat. We'll thin it out just a little bit. Great. Alright, the drawing shows that we got one little ridge going through this plate. So I will turn that ridge into something a little more interesting. I think I'm going to turn it into a sort of smoothly recessed area. So I'm going to take that bristle brush again, and with the selection I just made on a new parented layer, I'm going to select the base color, bring down the value, start to slightly put a shadow at the top of that shape. Okay, looks good. And for fun, and this is the experimental part of painting that I was talking about, is the value study really established the lighting scheme. In painting, I like to kind of maybe add a little bit more or change a couple things here and there if I see it fit. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to add my own ridges here that I think are going to look a little more interesting in this piece. Now take that lighter value, the brighter color for that little specular highlight on these two edges here. And now a new parented layer, and I'm going to just paint in a little bit of contact shadow between the plate that's on top of this and the one that we're painting beneath it. Again, this is to simulate what an ambient occlusion does in 3D. There you go. And I will call that plate done. On to the next one. Let's do this one. This is pretty prominent. This is sort of like the front ventilation piece. Pretty interesting shape. It's a cool little sort of grill here in the front. But I'll save that for a separate element. I'll address that independently of the rest. We'll just do the frame for right now. Flip off my line art. Do I have a new layer? Nope. I'll make a new layer. And I will shift the color to a little more gray, something like that, and begin rendering. So I'm going to make a new layer, parent it. I know it's getting really repetitive with my technique, but it's so easy to use. I mean, it's just basically I can render anything comfortably this way. And that's all I'm looking for. And that's really what I'm trying to show in this video is even I think the most complex things can be made much simpler, much less daunting when you're painting in a way that is very forgiving should you mess up. We'll pick a shadow color, make a new layer, parent that. In fact, I'm going to do a selection for this. bring down that value to about there. I think that reads a lot better. And just to punch up that bottom value here, this one here, I'm going to add a little more light here to the edge. Looks good to me. Let's see what else we got going here. We got a nice ridge going here in the line art, and I like that, so I want to maintain that, or retain that. So let's do a selection here. And now let's address the very top part of this, which has a surface that faces the sky, so that's going to be a brighter value. Okay, and again, I'm going to pick a value that's a little bit brighter than that and simulate a specular highlight. Maybe a little too much. Let's really put it in one area, smaller area, like that. Alright, we've got another cool little ridge going up here. Kind of dynamic, I like that. Give it its shadow. And its highlight. Clean that up. It was going just a little bit too much into the shadow layers section. In fact, I'm going to go back into that shadow layer. One thing is, I've assigned one value to both this surface and that surface. That's not actually correct. That was my shorthand when I first was blocking that shape. Now I'm going to go back in, and now with the transparency lock, so that I can't escape the bounds of that shape, I'm going to use a darker value. And I'm going to fill in this. So naturally this should be darker than the other surface beneath it, so we have a nice gradation of values from this surface, which is facing downward, the surface that is facing to the side, and then one that's facing up above. Okay. Some more patchwork here. Again, detail is so much fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. My role generally when I work on a feature, if it's not map painting, it's painting a designer's drawing. Visual development artwork is really great for someone who likes to noodle things. And it's not that I do it all the time, but sometimes you just really want to sit down and detail something out, and that's fine. I think that's a very primal urge for most painters. So address it, do it, but do not let it interfere in your design process, because that needs as much time as anything else, if not more. But the reason why that is the case with production art and doing visual development stuff is that generally one person will be hired to be the painter, and the person whose drawing is being handed off is the designer. So those are separate roles. Sometimes in a game company you have a concept artist, and that concept artist's responsibility is basically both those jobs. When you're working on animated film, it's a little different. Pretty rewarding too. It's really fun to team up like that and throw ideas back and forth between someone. Because sometimes, you know, as an artist, you want to get opinions from other people, especially your teammates, and that's just a great way to do it. I find it very rewarding, and I've actually learned more that way than anything else. Which brings me to another point: is anytime you do something, take it to somebody and have them take a look at it. It's great to have a second pair of eyes to look at something, because you know, you've looked at the thing for so long and you put so many hours into it probably that you might be missing things. So make sure that somebody else gets their eyes on it and they can maybe point out some things that might improve it. Or they might actually find a mistake too, which is, you know, a great realization to make, because, you know, if you find a mistake, you definitely want to address that. Okay, new layer. And now with a very simple brush, I'm just going to find some highlights here and there, add a little more interest to this. Take a basic Photoshop brush and flatten it here at the radius. Yeah, that looks good. And you can see sometimes you can convey this illusion of a raised surface with just one value. Too dark. There we go. That is better. So I'm just going to find some more shapes to subtract and put into shadow here. And I'm just making these up on the fly. I mean, this is that experimentation I was talking about. This is a great deal of fun for me. You know, try a shape. You don't like it? Just ditch it. Try another one. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'll keep it. Now, I will make yet another layer in my giant stack of parented layers. And I'm going to take that standard Photoshop brush, that circle brush, just quickly paint in some little rivets here and there. And I think I want them to be a light color on the dark color. Great. I am digging it. All right. One thing I see that I want to do is I want to punch up the value of this very top surface of this shape a little more, which means making a new layer. And I'm going to select it exactly with the geometric lasso because I want this one to be sharp. And take my brush. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I like it. I'll flatten that. And now, just like we did before with the sort of wear and tear, I'm going to take that sponge brush and go over this with an overlay layer. So I've got that layer. I'm going to turn the layer style here to overlay. And I'm going to take the base color, and I want to shift it maybe to something warmer. Maybe it's kind of rusted. And we'll see how this works. I got to see how Photoshop combines the two. So it's still kind of in the green realm. Let's shift it to a more extreme red and see how overlay reacts to what we have underneath it. And I'll do an opacity sensitivity here with pen pressure. Yeah, that is what I'm going for. Really love doing this. This is this brush is so much fun. Not only does it randomize color, but when you throw it into an overlay layer, the overlay is multiplying colors together. So that's even another, you know, layer of randomizing that's going on. You know, we can kind of restrict this to certain areas. Like again, I can pop out this surface here. Yeah, I like that. Really get some cool highlights. In fact, I wonder if this was actually in shadow. I think it would actually make sense for the majority of this piece here, the one that's selected, to be in shadow. Let's test that out and see how it looks. Nope, that's too dark. So again, just one of those experiments that doesn't always go right. Let me try something a little bit lighter. Not quite. Yeah, I think that's better. Because not all of this is going to be bright. You know, some of it is being blocked off by the top of this, by the same shape. The light is coming from above, so naturally, not all of this is going to be in light. Very cool. I am a happy camper. I'll flatten it. And I'll go ahead and kind of soften up some of these shadow edges here. Very simply. Okay, and there is yet another panel. Now we'll do the grill beneath it. And this is something that I think is going to be pretty dark. As far as shape value goes. Okay, it's receiving just a little bit of bounce light from that that ray of light that's going to be shining on top of it. And now with a geometric lasso, well, we can knock this out even faster without that. I think that would take too long. It's a pretty simple shape. We will make the edge to which those little parts of the grill in the line drawing extend to, and use a basic brush to just pull them out like that. Very simple strokes. Great. Looks good. Okay, and I'll stop this lesson here. So this is, I just wanted to show a couple more panels using the same technique to really reinforce the fact that I'm not really doing anything different here. I'm just using the same very basic techniques to address every single panel. So I'm going to go through this robot and address some more, and in the next video I'll address the legs, and we'll really take a close look at that and how I approach that.